offensively. A lot of developments in the game hitting. The thing I've always appreciated, he's never been a fix-it guy, never been a swing doctor, never been a mechanic. He's always first started a conversation with a thought. And as our game has evolved, he's been continuing to feed me things that we've actually shared and used at our level, and it's gotten to the point now I just want to, okay, dude, let's pull back the curtain and see what we got and see where we go. So, with no further ado, the stage is all yours.
Thanks, man. I
Thank you for being here.
Yep.
We're appreciative.
I have to start off. You got something to clap.
What we do? What we do?
2005. This is a funny story, but it'll hammer home the point. I'm in Red Sox spring training, kind of doing the same thing. Ben Sherrington and Theo Epstein introduced me, and I see a guy sitting at the front, sitting right there, smoking a cigarette inside. And I'm saying to myself, man, I didn't know who he was. Okay, so I'm looking at him, and I'm seeing this guy paying attention, and he was a little bit old. He was significantly older than me, and I'm kind of going through this stuff. About 20 minutes into the conversation, he stands up. He goes, "Time out." I said, "Oh man," right? Ben Sherrington says, "Tony, you know what that is?" I said, "No, I don't. That's Carter Stremski." So he stands up, right? He turns around. He said, "You know what? All you young," I'm not going to use foul language, okay? "All you young coaches that are here, he's using some fancy words, but back in the day, this is the shit that I did." And he sat down, and it was interesting, you know, as we go through this, and old school or new school, you get that all the time. This industry has gone from, is this old school or new school? And my advice to young coaches, and anyone here who is still coaching, just be in school. It's really what it comes down to. And as I was talking to Butch and Chris before, when you think you've got all the answers in this game, you need to get away from the students and the players. Because if you're constantly trying to pick up good information, right, you become the master teacher. And just because you coach, and I don't mean to preach by any means, right, coaching is not teaching, right? Your job is easy once the game starts. But the teachers, the ones that have great communication skills, the ones that understand the difference between a monologue and a dialogue, right? The ones that are constantly learning, how do I get this particular player better? That's what we're all trying to do here. The coaching is the easy part of it. And I'll say this as a starting point, all this information that we have, and it's taken me longer to figure this out, and it really helped with the work that I'm doing on the softball side. Players don't care what you know until they know that you care. And I heard that about 10 years ago, and it changed my life. It's like, you know what, man, you know, here we are, we're giving information out, but if that connection, however it may be, in the times that you have these guys, if they sense that you care, the information that you have becomes so much easier to present. So I wanted to start off with that. The conversation that we're going to have, and the nice thing about, I know we've got the camera going on, I've got some really good handouts here. People that like to read, right? Knowledge is power, but knowledge becomes really important when you can actually integrate it into what you teach already. There's some pretty good articles over the last few years that I have written. And it's kind of interesting. I was talking to Sarah, was it Sarah? Right? Yeah. About what she does and what I do and everything. And it's interesting. I typically, I just got interviewed for a position at West Point that I probably don't want. Although I live 20 minutes from West Point, I'm trying to do it part-time, and they kind of need somebody full-time to do it. So I walk in, and the first thing that they ask, and you people should know, well, Tony, what's your degree in? Right? And I'm constantly around PhDs. I'm around the MDs, the big dogs, right? I head to UCLA on Monday, right, to talk to their baseball and softball team about how to integrate the integration of mental skills, visual skills in the swing. The problem is at the NCAA level, you can't bring in a hitting coach. So I've got to call the head the camera, the foot is the tripod, and I've got to make sure I stay in the visual world, okay? And it's actually very effective because the players can understand that a little bit more, because once the game starts, I'm here to tell you, right, they want to stay in the visual world. It is the time at that point to be talking about the back of the brain and talking about a different thought process and whatnot. for the most part, is over. How do you get hitters in the middle of an at-bat to reboot, reset, and salve it into bat? Okay, that's really what we're here to talk about. And I don't have a PhD. And what I tell the PhD guys, and I think Sarah laughed at it before she reprimanded me, okay? The PhDs probably hypothetically do things. I have a JD. I just do it. Okay, I went to law school, right? I put bad people in jail for an extended period of time. That was kind of cool as a state prosecutor. There was more money in representing the bad people, and I did that for a while, and then I just couldn't do it philosophically, right? I had a hard time, right, being really good at what I did and having people that did terrible things to people back out on the street again. And after 2 years of trying to find myself, I decided, you know what, I don't want to do that anymore. So in 2002, I started a company called Frozen Ropes. Right? Still exists. I'm no longer day-to-day. My brother, who's the smart one in the family, who's got a master's degree, runs it. And Frozen Ropes back then was all about trying to figure out the swing. Right? And about 10 years into it, I decided, you know what, we got a generation of kids at the amateur level whose swings are really good. Right? Exit speed off the charts. Now we got launch angles that we can all talk about. Ted Williams talked about launch angles back in the day. Now we have all these terms that people are making money off of, right? And are screwing kids up. Because there's a big difference between swinging and hitting. Okay? And as I tell guys, you know, who come to New York, hey, take your horseshit swing and just be on time in a game. There is a time and a place for you to work on the swing itself, but look no further than the games that you watch on TV and at the major league level. There's some ugly swings that go on there, but guess what? They control the barrel of the bat. They have figured out that the eyes and the barrel need to have a relationship, and let all of the other kinetic stuff that we all see and we all love, leave it alone. There's a time and a place for that. So today is really all about, and I can spend the whole 50 minutes talking about this slide right here. Because to me, whoa, let me back it up. Right there. Right? This is a story about ball flight. This is a story about how do we, right, or how do you, as the master teachers, buy your hitters minimally another 1/100th of a second to be able to predict and estimate time to collision. Because that's what you guys do, right? We don't hit what we see, right? We tell the kids in Little League, watch the ball hit the bat. But guess what? And we all know this, right? You're playing calculus, and the better hitters have to play calculus. And I'm here to show you some ways in which pregame, preseason, and instructional league, you can learn how to play calculus. Not to have these guys be able to take these swings that aren't really going to be able to be helpful once the game starts itself, okay? Again, right, I don't dispense contact lenses. Vision has nothing to do with prescription eyesight. I think we all know that, right? The traditional mental skills coaches will talk about visualization. Visualization is a part of it, right? I call them best flicks. In my world, I can't use imagery and self-talk and affirmations. I'm a JD guy, so I've got to come up with these cute phrases that immediately in Spanish and in English make sense. So when we want to talk about visualization, we're going to create a best flick. And if we're going to talk to ourselves, we're going to rap chat. So you'll see those references over and over again. And I can't use those in public until my 21-year-old daughter and 18-year-old son say, Dad, that's cool. This generation will understand that. You can use that teaching strategy. So, yeah, I'm sure you have all your draft picks, and minor league guys will go in and get their 20/20 vision. We also know at the major league level, 20/20 is slightly below average. That all the research, and there's a good article that I wrote with Dr. Kershaw and Dr. Labby out of UCLA and Harvard, 2010, right? In order to do what those guys do at the highest level, probably AA up, 20/20 is not going to be enough. Is the mental part of the game integrated into vision? I think what's happened in the industry, and again, the nice thing about being asked to come down here by Clint, this is just my opinion. In America, we can all have opinions, right? What I'm seeing in the industry, and I'm seeing it at the college level, is that we've got all these departments. We've got the hitting coaches that are masters at teaching the swing. We've got the mental skills coaches that are tremendous on the back of the brain. And then we got the vision guys, the eye doctors, and some of this video games going on out over here. As a great organization and as the master teacher, how do you integrate them? Because the key is the guys that are in the trenches, the hitting coaches that are in this room, right? this information is only as good as the day-to-day relationship and information that you guys have, right? It's amazing the amount of silly money that college programs will spend on me this offseason. UCLA, Arizona, Cal State Fullerton, going to North Carolina, and I do the dog and pony show. Okay, and I'll go in there, and the coaches will be there. Some of them don't even want to be there, and we start talking about these things. And then they say, well, you know what, Tony, you know, the hitting coach does that, and we've got our mental skills guys that are great are doing that. And my point is, at some point, if you're truly about results, you've got to get the guys in the trenches to be the masters of the mental game and to be able to teach visual skills on the fly to save an at-bat or to save a game. So to me, this is about breaking down the walls to an extent, right? I get crucified all the time when I go to UCLA, right? I'm going to Harvard. I love going to schools where there's all PhDs sitting in there, Clint, okay? Because they're ready to get me. They want to know, who the heck is this guy from New York and where is this his opinion? So I come in and say, you know what? I was kind of a dumbass in law school. I didn't really go to class a lot. I was too busy coaching high school baseball at the time. So I had to learn how to cheat. I learned how to speed read. And I'm here to tell you that some of the best hitters in the game are speed reading. They're learning how to chunk. They're learning how to process information faster, right? And some of the techniques that I'm going to share with you today, right, even if they're in high school, right, them being able to pick up information faster is going to help their time to collision skills. Visual search strategies, right? If there's one piece, when people ask, well, Tony, what do you talk about? I talk about open focus, right? You'll see pieces of Manny Ramirez, the one guy that I learned more of in a 2-hour conversation with. Manny Ramirez, the first one in 2005 that said, you know what? When I look at nothing, I see everything. And when I heard that the first time from him, I said, is this just Manny being Manny, or what the heck does that mean? Well, about 4 months later, he opened up a whole amount of information called open focus. Open focus, not soft focus, fine focus, not the window, not the stuff that in the 80s I taught the hitters, and I'm thinking, boy, there's a lot of stuff going on here. And then when you get a chance to talk to high-level hitters, when they're in that zone, they're not switching back and forth. They're in this non-judgmental seeing. And we're going to do an exercise with your permission to show people and to show you how you can very quickly get some of your hitters to understand that the harder they look, the less they see. In bigger games, okay, come crunch time, adrenaline flow, deer in the headlights, how do you combat that? Or how do they combat it in the middle of an at-bat to extend an at-bat so they're not chasing pitchers and you're at least able to reduce that slump without changing their swing or getting them to be too much thinking on the backside of the brain. Talk about open focus. Yeah, I've been very fortunate over the last 20 years to spend time with some really good hitting coaches, right? Just listening to them. Major league players, listening to and asking the right questions. I think the one reason I think God sent me to law school so I can learn good questions, right? I remember asking Alex Rodriguez 7 years ago. Him and Manny are in Florida, right? And Manny has been a big advocate of some of the tools that we're going to see. I'm going to actually leave them here, right? Manny was the one that helped me create these cool things, right, that I'm actually using now with autistic children and adults that have autism, right, to teach them about space and to teach them about awareness. Alex Rodriguez, Tony, you know what, I don't really know, I got a problem, this and that. Well, 20 minutes later, we started talking about blink rates. And the one sheet that I have for everyone here, and this is something that I put together probably over the last 15 to 20 years. This is coming from hitting coaches, eye doctors, and mental skills coaches. And so when I go in, the last time I was in spring training with a team, I usually get the high miss guys, okay? And I'll watch them hit, and I'll watch them hit, and then I'll say, okay, we need to get them out of batting practice because this isn't real. And then I put together, and these are the 37 or 38 different parts of the swing that will affect visual skills. And if you are a hitting coach here, or somebody who cares, you should at least look through them. Some of them you'll understand. Stride direction, stride length, stride angle, how head positioning will change in the swing. But some of the other stuff is kind of out there a little bit, okay, as it relates to blink rates, right? Tension level. You ever notice the guys that hit 240 in the minor leagues or at the major league level? What are their eyes doing as soon as they see ball flight? They get big, okay? The bigger the eyes get, vision 101, the less you're going to see. The better hitters, as that ball comes out, you'll see that I just woke up in the morning or I'm sitting on a beach looking at the sunset, the seagulls, and the waves going on at the same time. The better hitters are in this sweeping and scanning mode, which allows them to pick up more pre-pitch cues that even at the major league level it's happening. I had a major league pitching coach tell me a few years ago, Tony, major league hitters are not seeing stuff. They're not picking up these, I call them cookies. Does anybody disagree with that? Who disagrees with that? You disagree with that? So you're saying that some of the better hitters, as the pitcher is going through his delivery, these slight little changes that might be going on, you think they're processing that information? Who would agree with him? I would definitely agree with it. Here's the problem.
I think they do, some are, yeah.
Some are, but the problem is, Butch, it's happening at the subconscious level. So when a hitter comes back and says, you know what, man, I just saw it big or whatnot, they actually might have seen a change in posture. They might have seen a little shoulder action. They might have seen the finger move. They might have seen a little bit more flesh on the hook side. But they can't articulate it because it's not happening at the conscious level. But it is happening. There is no question that major league hitters, right? And can you improve on this? There is no question you can improve a hitter's ability to pick up these cookies if we get them out of this soft focus, fine focus stuff and teach them what Manny taught me 10 years ago, when I look at nothing, I see everything. Okay. I was talking to some of the pitching coaches before. I know the last assignment that I had at the college level, just working with pitchers. Pitchers have control problems. Well, what does vision have to do with pitchers who have control problems? Watching the glove sometimes has nothing to do with executing a throw, right? And sometimes pitchers coming out of college, it's all about the glove, it's all about hitting the glove. At some point, getting them to realize and understand space and awareness, and sometimes getting them to know that, you know what, it has nothing to do with the harder you're trying to throw a strike. It kind of gets back to when hitters struggle, they're really trying to find the ball over and over again. First step, quickness, get a good jump. I was at Cal State Fullerton 2 weeks ago working with outfielders. What does vision have to do with outfielders? Well, guess what? There's no such thing as first step quickness. You can keep hitting ground balls till you're blue in the face with your middle infielders, okay? But at some point, their ability to watch ball flight and then very quickly pick it up and be in this open focus, that's why the great ones will lean to the left or to the right way before something happens. So the question becomes, as an infielder, when do you have a discussion with some of your infielders as to, tell me what, when, and how you're looking, and get that discussion going, knowing that you might be able to have better reaction time by doing nothing mechanically and just simply changing their visual search strategy. We're back to that VSS again. I get pitched more than the Pittsburgh Pirates organization in the way of vision training and products. Why do you think that is? Chris, why do you think I get pitched more with every conceivable product out there than you guys do?
You're on the development side.
What's that?
You're on the development side, and the parents are willing to pay.
Ah, my man, right. And guess what? Frozen Ropes is a franchise. I'm the mothership. So we got 18 of these facilities out there. So if V-Flex, OptiGaze, all the other ones, if I like it, guess what? Woo! They're all going to buy it. So I get them for free, right? I like them because I can pound on them. You know what? Good. I like this one. Full of crap. Maybe it's not good. So I've listed most of the ones that are out there. Some of you might be familiar with the Servo and GameSense and SportsFence. How about V-Flex? Anybody see the V-Flex? Tim Nicely is a brilliant man, right? Implicit brain training, right? Talks about how the brain doesn't want to have predictability, how you need to stay out of the strike zone. The one thing I learned from Tim Nicely is that if you're going to throw batting practice, you are doing a disservice in developing hitters if you're constantly throwing mommy balls, as I call it, mistakes over the middle. Okay, that in the typical major league at bat where you're getting maybe 4 to 5 pitches, right? How many are not in the strike zone? And the ability to get in and out of the strike zone, so now you're starting to train the brain to say yes or no. Compared to the feel good, we want everybody to hit balls hard all the time. Sarah was asking me about some of the video games, the video occlusion. You'll see software out there now where you'll see a pitching delivery right about over here, they'll shut it down, okay? And you'll see the athlete, I think that was a breaking ball, nope, no, that was a chase pitch and whatnot. I think it makes sense, but here's the challenge with that. For every cognitive scientist that talks about the beauty of that, you can line up the 15 other PhD and doctors that say that the rule of transference says that that doesn't particularly work. By that they mean those players are getting better at that video game or that specific skill, but no one has been able to show that playing those games is going to transfer over when you step in and all of a sudden you've got adrenaline, I call it white line fever. You've got so many other factors that are going on. And if those video training games were to be real, you shouldn't be sitting down. If anything, you know what? At least put them in some type of movement back and forth that at least simulates what a swing looks like. But to have sitting down on a laptop and playing a video game, to me, time is our most precious commodity. The college programs will ask me about that. They don't have time. Kids that are still in college don't have an extra 20 minutes a day to play video games. They're on those damn phones enough to begin with, to an extent. So I'm not saying that it doesn't work. You have hitters that swear by it. You know what? I'm getting better because I'm playing this game. Well, there's a lot of factors that get involved when a kid goes from 240 to 290 or whatever it might be. So I'm not dismissing it, but for every smart PhD doc that says it's good, you've got a ton of them that are saying it is a $1 million industry, okay? And it's not necessarily showing any results yet. Over the last 20 years, anytime that we've had a professional player come in, minor league to the big leagues, right? We asked them to take a survey, right? Young Chris Peterson, when he was a young player with the Cubs, Chris came in and, okay, here's our primary modality test. Basically says, what is the best way to teach Chris Peterson how to do things, okay? Knowing that you might be extremely visual, you might be extremely kinetic, you might be someone that, you know what, if I hear it one time, I'm going to get it. What we found out is that professional baseball players and softball, okay, 75% of them want to stay and live in the visual world. That the best way to teach them, right, is to show them, whether it be video or for them to kind of see themselves. We don't have time for all this. This is another, right, I have to explain this to all the smarty pants here, okay? And there's some, my wife who has a law degree like me, she goes, come on, do you even know what this stuff says?